Thanks so much, Evie. Appreciate the great introduction. And as she mentioned, I'm Anna Kruse, Vice President of Best Buy Ads and Media Strategy at Best Buy. Best Buy Ads is Best Buy's retail media business. And I'm thrilled to be at this Brand Innovators event with you all. And since it's the Thursday before Labor Day weekend, where we know, sounds like Evie, and many folks will be spending time outdoors with their family and friends and grilling. I'm super excited, and it's fitting that I'm here today with Todd Smith, the CMO of Traeger Grills. And Best Buy not only sells Traeger grills, but they are also a Best Buy Ads advertising partner. So Todd, it would be great to start, tell the audience a little bit about your role and your background, and then, probably what's top of mind on all our minds this weekend is what are you grilling or smoking over Labor Day weekend?
Sounds great. First off, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. It's great to be here today with everybody. So a little bit about my background. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Traeger. I've been here just about 3 years, which has been a crazy 3 years. For our business, just had a lot of great growth. Most of my career has been spent on the brand side. I spent about 10 years with Coca-Cola Company, working on the Powerade business, and then later running the vitamin water business for the U.S. I left to join a kind of a growth phase private equity-backed company that created the human performance category called Exos. Mainly best known for training elite athletes, elite military, and about a quarter of Fortune 500 companies, and probably best known for training about half of the NFL draft every year. And so after that, I joined here 3 years ago. It's been an amazing experience. I get to wake up every day, work with a great brand, great people, and do a lot of fun stuff. And then I guess to answer your question, so what am I grilling? So my go-to, we've got some family in town for this weekend. Go-to on the Traeger is 3-2-1 ribs. That's a family favorite, and for those of you that have a Traeger, I check that out on our app because it's a great recipe. Can make you look like a champ in front of your family.
3-2-1 ribs. I'll have to remember that one. So let's start a little bit about the Traeger community. I know you mentioned that and it's obvious as you talk to people who have a Traeger, because there's this whole cult phenomenon around the Traeger grill, and you've built quite the community around the brand. You talk a lot about with your brand, in our prep call, you talked a little bit about bringing people to get together as part of the Traegerhood. Tell us a little bit about the community and the following around your brand.
Yeah, it's a great story. I mean, the brand's been around since 1987, and this community just has naturally formed over the years. It's something that is really powerful, and you talk to people, and it's something that people identify with this brand and the community that they're part of. We call it the Traegerhood, and it's our way of just kind of thinking about the community as a key pillar of our brand. These are people that love to cook, love to share content with their friends, really love creating these experiences with the Traeger so that they can, whether it's bringing people together for a cookout, sharing food with friends and family, and it leads up to our larger mission as a company about, bringing people together to create a more flavorful world. That's really our North Star and really what we strive to achieve. So it's a community like nothing else I've ever been part of, any of the brands, and it's something where we receive wedding invitations. So this year we received about 6-7 wedding invitations, and we are going to show up. So if you're one of those people, don't be surprised when we show up. But it's also one awesome. where you have people who name their children Traeger, get tattoos on their body with our brand. And when you think about at the core what this product is, it's a household appliance, an outdoor appliance. And I struggle to find other brands that in that category that see the same type of fever from their community of people doing those types of things. So it's really an honor. We look at the community really as really the owners of this brand, and we really try to act more like gardeners, and really kind of find these opportunities to really engage with those consumers.
Well, I cannot wait to hear how you show up at these weddings. I'll be waiting to hear about that. So on our call, you shared a really incredible stat with me, which based on what you're saying it seems surprising, but maybe it's not based on what you're saying, but 80% of Traeger customers refer 5 people to your brand. Now, when I've listened to my brother-in-law and friends over the years who have Traegers rave about them. So maybe I could be one of the 5 people when we bought our Traeger that they get to take credit for. But share a little bit about how you found out that stat and what your team does with that to influence your marketing plans.
Yeah, it's an amazing stat. It's after speaking with thousands of consumers over the past year, a larger study that we did. It really, to me, demonstrates the power of this community. And as I mentioned, we try to look for things to as the community is really the owners of this brand, we try to do things that stimulate engagement, whether it's opportunities to share content, opportunities to whether it's user generated, just cooks that they're using. We have a connected grill ecosystem, so we're able to see things that get people to cook more often, which is really a lot of the goal. We feel that with such a great product and experience, if we can get people to cook more often, they naturally want to share that with others. And so we look for things that help try to just make it easy and have a conversation with our consumers.
And you talked a little bit about in our call that your team is constantly kind of testing and trying and playing with new ideas for your communities. You have lots of recipes and content in there. Share a few examples of things that you've tried or tested that have either worked or not worked, and how you continue to evolve that.
Yeah, I mean, we try everything from limited edition. This past year, we launched a set of limited edition meat sweats, literally meat sweatpants that had a holster for your tongs and other things that sold out within 45 minutes that we put them up on our website. Other cooking challenges, we have what we call Traeger Kitchen Live, where really it was born out of the pandemic, where we used to host in-person cooking classes. But with everything shutting down, we turned to just packaging up a camera, sending them to people in our community that would host hour-long cooking classes, where we'd get 150,000 consumers, patching in for those on a weekly basis. And so, just fun stuff like that. Or this past year in April Fools, we try to do something every year in a fun way. And this past year, we launched a limited edition set of wood pellet cannabis pellets, and those were kind of we had a pretty good response on those, but obviously we weren't selling those. But just some fun stuff to drive conversation. And honestly, we really don't take ourselves too seriously, and I think we take a very much kind of test and learn approach with our community.
That is so interesting. I love the April Fool's jokes, keeping humor in the marketing. So one of the things as we think about just to build on community, we have an ambassador program here at Best Buy, but you have a unique community ambassador program that, really I'm so impressed by it. You've built it with people who embody the Traeger lifestyle, and really are just like probably naturally so passionate about the brand and live the lifestyle of Traeger per se. Tell us a little bit more about the ambassador program and how it came to life, and then how you decide who those partners are going to be for you.
Yeah, it's a special part of our program. We work with people that are kind of well-known, world champion barbecue pitmasters, to Michelin star chefs, to the kings and queens of the cul-de-sac, and just people that love the product out there. I think what we look for are people that are passionate about our brand, who naturally can't stop using it, want to talk and share about it, and just love the product. And those are the people that we like to kind of celebrate and collaborate with. We have an in-house team that's been built over the years just in-house. We don't outsource that because it's really about relationships and the relationships that are built there. It's a special part of what we do, and it's something that we feel is a unique competitive advantage for us.
So let's shift a little bit. It's clear you've got a great following with your community and the Traegerhood crew. I'd love to talk about that customer experience and how you sort of cultivate that passion along the journey. You know, people get their first grill, they turn into these huge, massive fans, and how do you keep that going?
Yeah, it's something where you think about a grill being the only time of like when you're actually sitting by the grill being that customer experience, but we really try to think along the whole consumer journey. So both on new customer acquisition and also our existing customers. With existing customers, we really think along that whole consumer journey from the moment someone's inspired to cook something. So like we were talking before, people, you're wondering, what am I going to cook this weekend? I've got some people coming over for Labor Day. We try to be a point of inspiration there that gives different ideas. And then it brings it down to the tools to bring it all together, both from an ingredients standpoint, as well as kind of the cooking experience and education process of walking you through step by step, so that when you put this on the table for your guests, you've got an amazing experience. And along the way, you know, we offer not only people cooking at the grill, but you've got consumables that we offer. Not only the wood pellets that give it the great wood-fired flavor in the Traeger, but rubs, sauces, glazes, you name it. We've got a bunch of different things that help kind of, you know, up your game in the different things that you're creating. And it's part of the digital experience is a huge part of it, because that's what's really fueling a lot of that content inspiration and recipes that are really personalized based on you and your cooking habits. And we're able to kind of walk you through step by step in a way that's really foolproof. It's really improved, you know, my ability to cook and entertain, and it's something that we hear a lot from our consumers about.
And speaking of digital, I know your digital channels you mentioned are a huge component of how you kind of foster that community and the word of mouth. And you've got the Traeger app. And tell us a little bit about how that all comes to life.
Yeah, we have an in-house content team and culinary team that's working, developing those recipes, shooting the content. And really looking on, based on your interests and habits, kind of customizing that for you. We do a lot of work as well, not only with kind of the cooking experience, but even from somebody that purchases a new grill, from not only helping you along the shopping experience, but after you purchase, making sure you're kind of prepared for what's coming, kind of what to expect when you're expecting a grill. We really think a lot about that consumer journey, and there's a lot of fun things from a digital standpoint that we do before that grill arrives. And once it does, everything from kind of holding your hand through digital assembly and onboarding, that crosses over to the physical side as well. So those of you that have had a new Traeger, I don't know if you recall, but there's it's kind of some nice surprise and delight elements inside that box. It's kind of fostered through digital, but this is in the physical side of, inside the box that normally people have to figure out what to do with this thing, this big box. We have a kind of artwork on the inside that turns into a cabin for your kids. So your kids can kind of enjoy themselves while you're putting together your Traeger, and then well beyond that. The digital assembly guide as well talks you through of, you're going to need about 6 beers to put this thing together. And those of you who've put together, toys for your children at different times, you know how that feels. But you say, take 6 beers. And as you're going through the instructions, you've got, the beers start going away in the instructions, and inside the box, there's some different bottle holders or can holders for your beers as you're going along. So we really try to think about that consumer experience, not only on the digital side, but as it crosses the physical, and give those little moments that allow us to express the brand personality at times of something that could be a really frustrating experience with a lot of other products and brands.
Yeah, I love that, how you've thought about that unboxing experience, and we've all put together, toys, furniture, all the things. And I think it's such a good way to manage customers' expectation of, is this a one drink experience? Is this a six pack unboxing experience? So that's really smart.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears just a little bit. We've got, I want to talk a little bit about some of the macro business trends that are happening right now. You mentioned you've been at Traeger for about 3 years, and knowing when you started, you probably started a little bit pre-pandemic. We experienced a couple of years of really challenging times, but from a customer perspective, they're doing a lot of buying, a lot of investing in the home, a lot of spending time at home with their families. And so for a Traeger and people like Best Buy and other retailers, business was good in many ways. Now we're entering a different phase where, in the headlines, you read it every day, many companies are facing workforce reductions. We've got pressure on expense and all of those things. So I'm curious, these are such different times to lead through. How does your leadership look different today than it did a couple of years ago during a much different economic landscape?
Yeah, I think it's just forcing people to focus and eliminating the noise for your team, understanding kind of what really makes your brand unique, and where do you drive focus. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses are going through right now across the board. For our team, it's been great because it's provided us, the opportunity to really hunker down and drive the things that make our brand unique. So that's something that how we're looking at it. I'd say, also in the macro, that is a reality. I think it just, there's a lot of consumers that are in our ecosystem that we focus a lot on, but it's also a brand that, we're relatively young in terms of our growth cycle. It's a brand with only 3% household penetration of all grill owners in the US. So there's a lot of runway. So there are these cycles that do come up, but it's the thing for us is really about focus.
Yeah. I mean, that's an incredible stat that only 3% of households have a Traeger grill. How do you use the data around both cultivating the 3% and that 97% that don't have a Traeger grill in their home? How do you consider that in your marketing strategy?
Yeah, we're really focused on a couple key consumer segments for us. These are consumers that cook often, cook a variety of different foods. The proposition of our brand is attractive to them if they only knew about it. So one of the biggest opportunities is definitely driving that awareness. So whether it be, geographically different areas that are we feel are opportunities for us, but also we really focus on the core. With that powerful word of mouth that we spoke about before, we see this flywheel effect of people with a Traeger. They definitely want to share more with their friends and family, and it's something that kind of builds upon itself. So we look at it a bunch of different ways, and also we look at it over multi-year kind of horizon. And I think that allows us the flexibility to kind of ebb and flow based on where we see the opportunities.
Got it. Another thing we've sort of observed here at Best Buy is over the past couple of years, where demand is so high from consumers for a lot of products like Traeger and appliances and all of those types of things. Some brands were so focused on getting enough product with some of the supply chain issues and getting all of the resources to do that and meeting that high customer demand that some brands took their eye off innovation. And as I look at Traeger, that does not appear to be the case. You guys have continued to innovate and launched a pretty impressive product line this spring with the Timber line. How did you keep that focus over the last couple of years, both on meeting that high demand and continuing to innovate?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we've got an amazing product team that, innovation is kind of really in the lifeblood of our company. And, Traeger kind of came onto the scene as a disruptor. So I think we're always very conscious of not being disrupted ourselves. And we think the experience can always be better for our consumers. So the product that we launched this past year, it's really, flagship, on the top of the pyramid type product that looks to really eliminate a lot of the pain points that consumers had with pellet grilling. Everything from in the past, you had to vacuum out the ash from your grill after 5-6 cooks, to a grease bucket that might be on the side of a pellet grill, or just more consumers wanting higher temperatures in order to sear. And this new model of Timberline grill for us solves a lot of that, from a grease and ash keg that captures all of that so you don't have to vacuum it anymore, dump out your grease, to a induction hob that sits next to the grill that provides extremely high temperatures that allows for great searing. You can smoke a great steak on the Traeger and bring it over to the induction hob to reverse sear it and get a nice crisp sear on that. So it's something that we have a great team from a product standpoint that's always trying to improve the experience for our consumers. And it was something that was just critical to us. And that technology that we have, because it's a kind of top of the line type price point and offering, that technology is going to filter down over the years to other products. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome. I have never had so many friends that have been interested in building like pretty impressive outdoor kitchens as I have in the last couple of years. And curious, since the line you just talked about, the Timberline, appears to be, it's a higher end line. It's got customization that you can, sort of build it into that custom outdoor kitchen. Was there some insights, or what were the insights that led to that being the product line that you really sort of focused on over the last, months and year?
Yeah, it's something that we saw kind of an opportunity to address those pain points. It's also able to be a built-in grill. So it's the first from our line as well. So when you talk about outdoor kitchens, that fit into that very well. And then we've got a great ability to kind of customize it with a series of different accessories that clip onto the grill and kind of make it your own. So, looking at consumer behaviors and trends is really what drove us, and constantly looking at that consumer journey and finding those pain points and that we needed to address. And so that's really kind of what drove us, and making sure that we're bringing real innovation to the market. I think that's something that you can, it's something that really satisfies that unmet consumer need.
So to build on that, I'd love to talk about some of the other product categories that Traeger has outside of grills, and how you're thinking about it, innovating and expanding in those. You mentioned some of them, earlier in the session, with pellets and rubs and things like that. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting part of our business, because it's some people might say, oh, it's kind of like the razor and razor blade, and it's sort of like that, but because you have somebody that purchases a grill, and then you've got this ongoing cooking behavior that happens. So consumers are buying pellets to fuel their cook. There's sauces and rubs that are tied in with different recipes that we have, and others that just consumers love using on all different types of foods, not only proteins, but vegetables as well. And then you've got sauces that can kind of make a meal, take it up to another level. And so we've got a unique line of those products as well. This past year, we really expanded beyond kind of our traditional channels into new channels like groceries. And that was really born out of an insight of consumers, wanting these food products essentially to be there where they shop for food. And it's something where we've expanded across the country in Kroger this year, not only with pellets, but our sauces and rubs. And it's a program that's doing well so far. We've got also some fun. It's also a fun place that we can do some great collaborations. We announced earlier this summer a collaboration that we're doing with Whistle Pig. They launched in July their Whistle Pig Smokestock whiskey that is out, which is amazing. You should try if you see it in the market. And then we've got some news coming out over the next week. We've collaborated with them on products of our own, so pellets, sauces, and rubs that are in partnership and down to the core product sense, incorporating elements from the Whistle Pig brand. And it's something that will come out over the next week. I can't say too much more about it, but it's something that we really feel is a fun kind of two-way partnership. That's not just slapping logos on each other's products, but there's something really down in the core of the product that both of us are bringing to market that we know our consumers will be excited about.
I love the partnership and the collaboration with Whistle Pig, and it's fun to see brands putting the power of them together to create some interesting and new collabs. So let's pivot just a little bit. I would love, we are, at Best Buy, we are big advocates for educating youth and getting more folks interested in both technology and marketing and all of those types of things. So we have a pretty robust summer internship program. And it's kind of just wrapping up here at Best Buy. Interns have now kind of gone back to school for the year, but I'm just curious for you, if, what advice would you give to anyone, a college age intern today?
A couple of things. One of them is that I don't think career paths are linear. You've got to be comfortable, and you've got to be comfortable with that. I often tell people, look at your career in kind of 3 to 5 year segments. Where do you see yourself being? And I think that it allows you to make a lot of good choices about your career, about the experiences that you're going to gain, stretch assignments, and otherwise that allow you to kind of move along that path, but not be short-sighted. And another thing I tell people is put yourself in uncomfortable positions, whether that's roles, projects, opportunities. That's the only way you're really going to grow, and kind of see, you'll surprise yourself on how you step up. So that was good advice that I received early in my career, and something that I've taken to heart. The other thing I'd say is get to know people. This is I think our world's built on relationships, and it's tougher now because you've got people that are not always in the office. So you've got to find ways to connect on a personal level with people, because you never know that those relationships can go so long in moments of need, or you're somebody that's top of mind with somebody when opportunities come up. So that's the other thing I'd really focus on. Yeah,
that is great advice. I'd love to kind of see that come full circle. One thing we did not talk about in our prep, so hopefully you're comfortable with this, but as I look at your brand ambassadors program, and the brand of Traeger and the lifestyle of Traeger could be, from an outsider looking in, could be perceived to be a little more male focused. But as I looked at your ambassadors, it's a really robust group of folks. You've got lots of females, lots of males, you've got diversity in there. I would love to just have you share a little bit with us about how a brand like Traeger thinks about inclusion, diversity, equity, all of those types of things. And, how does that fit into your kind of sort of vision and purpose for your brand?
Yeah, great question. This was an observation I had when I came into this category myself. You think of, grilling in general is kind of a Game of Thrones category. It's like steel and fire and, black iron that you see. People use the terms like man the grill and those types of things. Our brand kind of looks to kind of flip that on its head. Going back to our mission of, bringing people together to create a more flavorful world. We talk about people. We don't talk about men. We have a very diverse group of consumers that love our brand, and we look to partner with those that kind of represent our consumer base in the Traeger hood. And so we do have, it's purposeful. We have a lot of community ambassadors that represent that diversity. And it's something that's important to us. And it's not just about, it's also it's a diversity of even like style of food that you cook on the grill. So we look to kind of bring that through the line, both in who we partner with and how we go about things, really to reflect our community.
That's great. So I do have a couple follow-up questions if we have time, but first I wanted to just kind of open it up to see if any of our audience had some questions here. It looks like we had one in the chat. So it says, Todd, you mentioned building relationships, but with many people working from home or working hybrid, how are you building relationships internally with employees and externally with your vendor partners?
Yeah, great question. You know, we spent a lot of time talking about this because before people were in more of a hybrid environment, everyone was here. It was something that we felt was kind of important to the culture. And I think when you step back, it's a lot of those casual collisions that you have and getting to know and talking about, you know, little things that don't have to do with work. So I think, you know, it's important when you start off, whether it be one-on-ones or team calls, talking to people about how they're doing, you know, before just jumping into your
Little
agenda.
things, yeah.
Understand what's happening. We also try to plan stuff in advance when we know people are either coming into town or a reason to get people to come into town to do events. Whether, you know, one of our key values is what we call cook together. And it's not necessarily the literal definition, it's really about teamwork. But we're, you know, our marketing team, we're getting everyone together later this month to literally cook together and almost kind of have an amazing race type of thing where we all cook and share that. To another thing we're doing next quarter, there's a great ski resort nearby here in Utah that we're going to go for a day and not talk about anything but work. We're going to let people go and hike, mountain bike, zip line, just
That's awesome.
chill out, just to kind of get to know each other. And I think that's something really important, especially when you have new people that maybe started during the pandemic or are working remote. You need those folks to maximize their time when they're coming to your office to spend the rest of your team more on relationships than anything, just so that it's not a face on the screen, you know.
Yeah.
And so those are some main things.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that at Best Buy as well, with people who started remote during the pandemic and have never been to campus and have never really met some of their peers in person. And so I think getting that time together, I love the idea of just giving folks a day to spend time together without being in work mode. All right, it doesn't look like I have any other questions from the chat right now, so I'll pivot to a couple more bonus questions for you. What trends or new technology are you excited about, or are you watching right now?
Yeah, big one is just harnessing data. I think, you know, as I mentioned, we have a connected device that on a macro level looks at different cook data and other things, and a lot of other data that we have just on a marketing side. I think it's one thing to have a bunch of data, but then it's another thing to really harness it and know what to do with it. And really for us, it's about delivering a better customer experience. So I think that's something that I'm really interested in, is how do you harness this to really help drive your business?
All right, another question from our audience here. How do you feel about out-of-home advertising? Do you have any impactful campaigns or advice to share?
Yeah, you know, I'm a big believer in out-of-home. I've had great experiences, but I think it's got to serve a purpose. It just can't blend in with everything. Last year, we looked across important markets for us, one of them being in our backyard in Salt Lake City. We did an out-of-home execution, and we called it Farm to Traeger, where we started out as a billboard on a major highway that passes across the country. And it started out, and the billboard was a blank grill. And outside the billboard, there was a barnyard, if you will, of cattle, of pigs. There was corn stalks and other things. And every few days, one of the animals disappeared, and you had say pigs are gone. The ribs were up on the grill. The next few days, the cattle were gone. You had a big steak on the grill, et cetera, and then some corn and other things, and kind of the barnyard disappeared. And it was one of the things where you had commuter traffic going by, and they'd notice something like that. And it was a bit of more of a spectacular, but it was something that drove a lot of conversation. It wasn't just something we did here in Utah, because it was something we were able to amplify and pick up. And something like that it made it impactful. It made it disruptive. It wasn't just buying boards in order to meet some type of reach goal. It really had a purpose. And, you know, we have to punch above our weight at times as a brand, just kind of our size in the category. And that was an opportunity for us to be disruptive. So big believer in that. To me, I'm kind of channel agnostic. It's more about the idea and how to best convey that to the consumer.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things that is kind of surprised. So my husband came home on March 17th of 2020 with a box with a giant Traeger in it. And I remember that day because it's my daughter's birthday, and it was like at the very, very start of the pandemic. It has been the gift that keeps on giving for us over the last couple of years. And one of the things that really surprised me was the idea of cooking things besides, like you think of like meat and potatoes and, things like that on a grill. But my husband, one of my favorite things that he makes on the grill is cornbread with that smoky flavor. And it's just fantastic. I recently heard of somebody who smokes water to make whiskey or smoked flavored ice cubes for their drinks. Would love to just curious from you, as a diehard Traeger lover, what is something that would surprise people that you like to put on the grill?
Well, vegetables are amazing. When it comes down to it, it's kind of like it's an outdoor oven in a lot of ways. And seafood is amazing. It doesn't stink up your kitchen if you want to cook that. Vegetables, but cocktails. So you're kind of what you were mentioning about the ice cubes. Making simple syrup or other things out of natural berries that you can smoke and kind of mix into cocktails. That's actually, it's a great thing and something that a lot of our consumers love. It's a great thing to share with people and kind of blow their mind in terms of both in a flavor and the fact that you can make these things on a grill.
Absolutely. It blows my mind.
I have one because I've been reading about this ever since you mentioned inspiring folks on their customer journey when they start to cook. I saw a recommendation for a recipe for Traeger smoked bacon wrapped Oreos.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a great combo.
On Pinterest and everything. So are you responsible for that one, Todd?
It's not necessarily me. We have an amazing culinary team, but also it's a lot of the community. Some of these are happening with just consumers and they're sharing them. And then we use our platform to kind of share the content that they're doing with others, and it really takes off. So that's a great example of something that, you wouldn't see in a normal cookbook, but it's something that people are just sharing this because they want to share this creation with others. And we see those and try to kind of elevate those for the rest of the community.
Well, good job elevating this conversation. When you have a CMO who encourages April Fool's jokes and consumers who are such fans that they get Traeger tattoos, you knew it was going to be a good conversation. Beautifully moderated from Best Buy Ads, Anna, Todd. Thank you so much. You guys were fun and you kept the conversation going and really informative. And channel agnostic, what's not to love? So with that, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Great to talk with you, Todd.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.